Listen, I know. I'm a day late. I'm a day late. It's Saturday technically, but your girl was busy yesterday. I was a little busy. I was a little busy, but we go talk sports. Y'all know how we do. Going to talk about the conference championship games. The NBA's been lit with all the scoring and stuff. We gonna talk about that as well. Then we gonna talk about something else later. You know how we do. But I love y'all. Let's get it. All right, let's get into it. I think we gonna start off with the NFC and AFC championship games that's gonna be happening on Sunday. So I didn't feel too bad about missing yesterday. I was like, it's late in the day. I was like, oh snap! I didn't even do it. I didn't even do an episode today. But I was like, the conference championship games aren't until Sunday, so we could take a little break, I guess you could call it. But yeah, it's Saturday technically, January 27th. But we're gonna talk about the AFC and NFC championship games. We're gonna start off with the AFC because their games first. Both of the games are, like I said, they're on Sunday. The AFC game is on CBS around 3 p.m. Eastern. We got the Ravens and Chiefs. Ravens and Chiefs. I Baltimore is favored by 4. But I'm really going for B more here. I'm really just cheering for Lamar Jackson. I want him to get to a Super Bowl and show his stuff. I want him to win the thing personally. Um, honestly think that they should win this game. It's MB more. Uh, the Chiefs did go on the road last week and come out with a dub. This is their first like road playoff win, at least since the Patrick Mahomes era, since he's been a starter. Um, and I don't know. I see Lamar Jackson doing his thing tomorrow again. Who he should be MVP, which I'll kind of touch on that a little bit later. But he should be MVP. No doubt about it. He'll be regular season MVP, at least in my eyes, personally. But yeah, I got the Ravens in that one. And then in the NFC game, which will be at 6:30 p.m. EST on Fox, Lions and Niners. I'm going for the Lions here, but obviously the Niners getting in wouldn't surprise anybody. Debo Samuel has been cleared to play. Obviously that brings another weapon to that crazy offense and all that stuff. They're favored by 7. The 49ers are. But I personally, my two picks, I want to see Ravens Lions. I want to see two teams that haven't been there in a while. Obviously, the Lions have never been there. It'd be really, really cool just as a fan of football because it seems like that's all I can be most of the time this time of year because the Cowboys are always the Cowboys and they always let me down. Um, but I would love to see a Ravens Lions Super Bowl. That's what I'm pushing for. I've been sick of the Chiefs seeing them in it every year, and that's no disrespect to them. They can't help that they had been so dominant through the years, and no one really like took that leap forward. Like we had like the Bengals get there like what a year or two ago, 2 years ago I think it was, and the Bills always kind of seem hanging around. The Ravens always kind of seem him hanging around. And I think this is the one time that I legit could see a Super Bowl without the Chiefs. The Lions Niners, on the other hand, I think it's more for me. It's just that I want to see the Lions actually, like the fans, the organization, they deserve it. Jared Goff, he deserves it. That whole team, I love their coach. I love how they play, and I love what they stand for. So same thing with the Ravens. So it's like I would not mind seeing that as a Super Bowl. Who would I want to win personally if that was to happen? If Lions Ravens was to happen, that's tough though because like I said, I've been rooting for Lamar Jackson. I want him to win a Super Bowl personally, as a fan of him. Um, the black athletes, especially black quarterbacks. Y'all know how that be and how they get written off a lot of times. Um, for that reason, I obviously I would want the Ravens to win, but the Lions with all everything they've been through, um, just bad season after bad season after bad season, great players that have come through there. Obviously Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, and it would be so cool for them to win a Super Bowl. Just as a fan of the game, I am getting a little too ahead of myself because they still have to play the game Sunday. Shit, they could be Chiefs 49ers, could win the game Sunday, and then none of this really matters. But um, like I said, I want to see Ravens Lions as a fan of football. Um, that's what my heart wants to see. And to be honest, I think that might happen. The thing is, I believe in the Ravens. I think the Ravens will get in. I think they'll be a little bit easier for them to get in. The Lions, on the other hand, I do like their toughness. And last week, the 49ers weren't playing great, but they played enough to win. Like, they came through, they played enough to win. So that's what you have to do this time of year, honestly. All the stuff that in the regular season really doesn't matter. It's all about when you come to these playoffs, it's one and done. You have a good game, you move on. Period. You win the game, you move on. That's all it's about, for real, for real. And like I said, from other sports where it's a series like the NBA or baseball or or hockey, um, I feel like in those situations, usually the one of the best teams always wins. You never really get like a what I'm saying, like a 8 seed winning, even barely getting to the finals. You know what I'm saying? Let alone because it's usually like those top 4 or 5 teams in one of the conferences for like NBA and stuff. Usually the better teams always win. Usually, obviously we've had upsets in the past. It's sports. But when it's one and done, it's you can literally have a bad game and your season could be over, or you can have the greatest game of your life and you can move on and you before you know it you're in the Super Bowl. You just don't know, and that's why I kind of love the NFL playoffs. Same thing with like the NCAA tournaments. I think that's why those are always really exciting. You get some team that you've never heard of making it to the Final Four because you just got to get hot at the right time. If you get hot at the right time, when it's a playoffs that's one and done, you can easily get to a championship or a finals or Final Four, whatever. You get what I'm saying? So, uh, but yeah, I'm going for Lions Ravens. That's pretty much that. I'm pretty much gonna go for Lions Ravens. That's who I'm cheering for both games. I will be watching probably both. Um, but yeah, that's it for that for the NFL stuff. Now, NBA has been kind of lit like lately with all the crazy scoring that's been happening. Luca dropped 73 last night. Um, he dropped 73 in Atlanta. I believe Booker scored 62 last night, but they lost the other day. Embiid scored 70 and they won. And Carl Anthony Towns scored 60, 63, 62, but they lost. Like I don't know where all this crazy scoring is coming, but I remember always talking about, and I remember obviously before Kobe did his 81, I remember everybody's like, oh, no one's never even scored a score 80. Kobe did it, obviously. Now, like, I think the conversation has ever been since Kobe. It's like, is anybody even going to crack 80 again? Or I generally don't think the 100 will ever happen. You just never know. With everything that's been going on, all the scoring that's been happening. Because if you genuinely, like, look at, like, the NBA games every night. Look at the final scores. Everybody's putting up 120, 130, 140. It's actually kind of nuts. There's not much defense being played, I will say, out of in the league, especially this season. Like, I feel like, because even like when the Pistons were going on their losing streak, I remember looking at their box scores and being like, they're putting up 110, 120, 100 points every night, like, and they're still losing. Like, you know what I mean? So could the 100 be possible? If I see somebody get 85, it'd be kind of crazy. There's so many guys that probably could do that. You talk about like the 4 I just mentioned. I think Luca and Embiid and Booker. I think those 3 off the top of my head, I could easily see doing that. Maybe Curry if he gets hot one night. Y'all know how Curry get. Even though I feel like he's been kind of this year, but he's still Steph Curry. He's still the greatest shooter of all time. You know how he could just get hot and fucking hit 23s in a game. Who knows? Some crazy stuff like that. But like, it'll be nuts actually to see if anybody could touch 85. I would love to see, and I don't care who it is. As long as they're not doing it against the Heat, I'm cool. Like, I'm cool with it. I don't really care. I've always basketball's always been my favorite sport. It's always been uh the sport that I gravitated to the most. But um, I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy football, I enjoy baseball. Basketball was always number one in my heart. It was always the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to play in the WNBA. I remember when it started. I was like 7, 8 years old. I was about to say I was 78, bruh. Um, I was about 7, 8 years old, and I remember like seeing the league and seeing Lisa Leslie and Rebecca Lobo and Swoops and all the greats in the women's game. And I remember being like, "Yo, this would be actually cool if I could play professional basketball in the same country that I grew up in." Because usually the women kind of go overseas. Like around this time of year, most of the women are like overseas playing in leagues and stuff. Because obviously the payments aren't they don't get paid the same. Obviously, than NBA players. Season's shorter. There's a lot of regions. But I basketball's always been number one in my heart. It's always been the number one sport for me. Always enjoyed it. It's the one I feel like I played the most, even as a kid or whatever. Um, like I said, I would play football in the yard with some of my guy friends or baseball, volleyball, soccer. Like I played everything like as a kid, just running around, which I kind of miss. Kind of miss being super active. You know what? I think that's gonna be our topic. We're gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk about a little bit about the younger Steph. Let's talk about younger Steph. We're gonna take a break. Let's do that. I was looking for a topic to kind of touch on. There's been a couple topics I've been wanting to touch on, but I think that might be it. I think we're gonna talk about younger Steph. Younger Steph was a different breed. A lot of things have changed, but we're gonna talk about that. That's all for the sports talk today. I know that the like Australian Open's been going on too as well. I really don't pay attention to tennis. Uh, I don't even know. I know. I remember Coco Graf got eliminated. I really don't pay attention after that. I'm gonna just get y'all on a little secret if y'all ain't know. Most black people we watch for the black athletes, especially when it's something like tennis. Like we all used to sit around and watch Serena or Tiger. We. After that, we really don't care. Like, I'm just gonna be real, and this is no disrespect to tennis player. I love watching tennis. I feel like it's very competitive, and obviously they're athletes. They work hard at their craft and what they do, and I respect them. But I'm going like us black people, we don't we don't watch after the black athletes are eliminated. We don't care. Sorry. I'm so sorry. But yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna take a break. And we're gonna talk about younger stuff. We're gonna talk about young stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be back. All right. Like I said, I'm still laughing at myself for the whole like black athlete clip in tennis and golf. I think it's another reason why we don't really we don't dig hockey that much as well. At least me personally, I can't speak for every black person. That's just rude and disrespectful, honestly. But like, we need to find somebody to grab on, like grip on to, so we can cheer for them. Like I said, it was always Venus, Serena, Tiger, now like Coco. Like it's what we do. Like I love people like Rafael Nadal and all of like. Don't get me wrong. Uh, um, I think Michael Phelps was another one that I enjoyed personally. That wasn't and a different kind of sport. Let's just say that. But but no, it was just kind of funny. I'm sitting here still laughing at myself. But as I was talking and I was talking about like basketball and stuff, I kind of like brought up the topic of younger me. I Younger me was different. Obviously, I think obviously we change as we get older, as we get life experiences and things like that. I just remember being a kid and my mom, who I only unfortunately only got to spend only had nine years with her. Um, but I was a spoiled kid, being an only child. My mother was the best. I keep a picture on my wall and back here on my wall here. that a lot of people could see. I have it right here, so when I'm streaming, it's like she's watching over me, like she's right there and stuff. Um, but she was always for me. She always just was like she always obviously like ground rules as a parent. You do that. She always was like, you do what you want, you do what makes you happy, and as long as you're happy, I'll always support you. And my mother was definitely like that. And I think all the time like what it would be like if she was still here now. I think she'd be 59 actually. Her birthday is December 27th, along with her twin, which is my aunt, who was also passed away, um, who I was really close to as well. Um, it's crazy that it's the 27th. It's literally a month after their birthday exact. But I always think about what it would be like if she was here, how different my life would be. Because I remember as a kid, I was always so full of life. I remember always like loving to play with people and having fun. I mean, I was stubborn a little bit as far as just like I think because I was an only child, that definitely was I always kind of liked being alone for the most part. But I mean, I did like hanging out with my cousins and stuff like that. Um, but I remember after she passed away, I I remember I just couldn't. I didn't feel. I knew I wasn't gonna see her again, and I didn't really feel the same. I mean, I feel like you lose a parent, it changes you dramatically, no matter the age. But I think as a kid, it's a little harder when it comes to like putting everything together in your mind. You're like, I remember when they told me they picked me up from school and told me I really didn't. I didn't cry. Like it took me a minute to actually like cry about losing my mother, and I know that's weird. Um, but people deal with death in their way. Um, but I remember just not crying, not really. I just knew I wasn't gonna see her again. That was obviously the big thing. I remember being at her funeral, at her wake, seeing her in the hospital, and just feeling very numb. Um, I remember sitting in the back. I didn't even want to sit in the front. I remember there was this long bench when you first walk in, and I would sit back there, and everybody that comes in, they obviously would see me, and they're like, "Oh, sorry for your loss," hugs. You know how people are. I just, it's weird. Like I said, it took me years to like really cry about it. Obviously, there was days I was sad or I missed her. Obviously, still to this day. Um, but I just didn't. My emotions were different, and then my family dealt has. Me and my cousin were talking about it yesterday, and she was she's like, I'm about to be 40, and she's like, we're supposed to be the ones like planning things as a family. Um, and she said, I don't feel like we are ready for that. And she's got two kids. Um, but it's like, well, three technically. But she made a lot of sense when she was just like, by the time like my mother and my aunt and her dad, who was my uncle I lived with, and they would plan things. And this was like when they were like in their late 20s, and they would plan things and try to get the family together for things. And we're all pretty much older than them, or at least around the age they were when they passed. And she said, I just don't feel like we were ever prepared. We weren't prepared to be the I guess the pillars of the family. And I was like, it's all the trauma. It's we lost so much as a family throughout the years that it it changed us. I think, like I said, my mom passed away. I was 9, so this was 1998. 2 years after that, we lost our oldest cousin. Um, then 3 years after that, this was my freshman year in high school. My mom's twin sister passed away, and then 2 to 3 years after that, we had an uncle pass away. So this is like in like an 8 year span, 8 to 9 year span, where we lost four people in the family. I was living with my grandmother. I'm still in the same place we're living in. And all four of those people were really close to my grandmother, her first grandchild, and three of her children, including her twins. And I watched it kind of not. I watched it kind of like it definitely changed her. You know what I mean? Um, it changed all of us. I think we started just like we were starting to lose people like crazy. Like either people were that were close family friends or other family members that's like like a distant like second or third cousins and things like that. You know what I mean? And like my cousin Rick, he lost his dad. Um, so he's lost both of his parents. Um, and then my grandmother started with the whole dementia stuff. She started forgetting things like right after I graduated from high school, and she started forgetting things. She started being more angry, but she had never really like that woman was my mother as well. You know what I'm saying? I spent more years with her than I spent with my own mom, and she treated me like her own. Like I never felt slighted in any way. Um, but when she started getting sick, and if you know anybody knows with dementia or Alzheimer's, you watch the people you love change, and they're not themselves. I was here for a little bit by myself before my uncle came and lived with me to help out with her. Um, and the things that I seen and went through in this house still, so it's a lot of trauma, stuff that no one will ever understand. As far as her, like I said, her anger, she started, being angry with me and being physically, mentally, just kind of the things she would say. It was points where she didn't even know who I was, and it sucks because she was the person that raised me. She took me in her home right after my mom passed away, and she would always tell me the story about how she rushed over there and my mom wasn't when she wasn't feeling well. This was her last, obviously, probably last hours of her life, and she was just like, no matter what you do, take care of Stephanie. And I feel like I didn't deserve her because of the fact that she's sitting there she's sitting there taking her last breaths, and she's thinking about me. And it's tough. And my grandmother took care of me until she started getting sick and stuff. And I remember thought I was going to be prepared because I knew she was sick. I knew it was like when she was losing a lot of weight. She was going to dialysis 3 4 days a week. She was a diabetic. She had a bunch of other stuff, and she was used to be a heavy smoker. Um, and like I said, there was when she got sick, she was very verbally like just said anything that came in her head, like bad things. I I didn't recognize that person that you know and the thing is I'm still in this apartment, and there's times that I get reminded every day of it, and still in the same room we shared. I've been here since 1998. And I'm still in the same apartment. And then it didn't go like my uncle came, obviously he helped out, he took care of the things like doctor's appointments. He helped make her food, and when he wasn't here I'd do it. And it was a rocky road. Me and him would butt heads when it came to her a lot, and we disagree sometimes. And there was times where I would just be quiet because I didn't want to argue, and I just think it was a lot for him because he just. And I think as I've gotten older, I understood. I was very angry at the time at him a lot, but I think as I got older, I realized that he just didn't know how to deal with the way she was. and that was his way of dealing with it. Did it make it right? The things I saw and heard, no, but I it was a lot on him. I see that now, and that's why it was a lot on us as a whole, me and him both, because we were with her every day. We were the ones, like I said, helping her bathe and cook, eat, feed her, cooking for her, whatever. Like we were the ones here, and there was times when other family members would have things to say, and it's like, why don't y'all do this? Why don't you do that? I'm like, you guys aren't here. You want to come here and deal with her mood swings and the verbal abuse, and to me sometimes the physical abuse. Like she would pull out, go and get knives and pull them out more of me and all this stuff. Like it was a lot. And I remember when she passed, um, because of my uncle's temper, that I didn't want to live with him. I didn't feel safe. But then maybe after like a couple weeks after, we talked and we came to an understanding. He's like, I love you. You to be honest, he was my father pretty much for my life. Um, but we had a little talk and we were good, at least in my eyes. I felt like we came away with the conversation that we both were on the same page and we both respected each other, respected each other's space. And it happened like when he like officially lived here, he pretty much, the living room turned into his room. I was here in my room, and we gave each other space. There was no like, you know, he'd have his company, you know, he doing there. I'd be chilling in here. I never really had company here ever. Um, even as a kid, I never really liked having like friends over and stuff. Um, but like we respected each other's space and stuff. Then when he started, not, you know, he had open heart surgery a year before he passed, and I remember seeing him change, and he wasn't himself. Um, he definitely was different, and I remember when we both got COVID, I felt like crap. He wasn't looking good at all. He ended up having a heart attack and not making it. And it's been over 2 years since I've been in this house by myself. I like I said, I had COVID as well. I spent a week in the hospital. It was rough. I there were a couple of days when I was in there. I was like, I'm probably not gonna make it out of here, and I gotta try to accept that. And I legit was, hate to be extra, but I was ready to go, and I thought it was it for me. Like it was a rough time being in the hospital, especially after hearing about my uncle. Like like I said, we had our ups and downs, but I loved him, and it was the first time I cried at a funeral. He was. I remember we were all at the gravesite, and he's literally, him and my mom are buried right next to each other. And I hadn't been up there in so long. I'm not really good with the graveyards. I don't really like visiting them. It doesn't really help me personally. I know that for some people it like gives them peace, and you know, it makes it feel like you're talking to them and all that stuff, and that's completely fine. You know what I mean? I just, for me, after the funeral, you usually won't see me back up there. I hadn't seen my mom's grave since I was probably 11 or 12, and I seen it. They buried him right next to her, and I've actually gone back this past November. My cousins went up there, and I went with them, and it was interesting, and just seeing them right next to each other. I know that's where they wanted to be. um, but yeah, this was supposed to be about how. I mean, I could say younger Steph, and this is all is a part of me. You know what I mean? It's still part of my life. And I also lost an aunt like a year after my grandmother, who I was really close to. Um, she ended up passing away from breast cancer. Um, but me and her got really close. We've always been cool, but I think after like my mom passed and stuff, she was really there for me. Um, she would come over, we would just hang out, chill, talk and stuff. Every time my birthday came around, she would bring me like a little cake or some snacks and stuff, little trinkets and things. She was always good with that stuff. So I remember like the last couple of years she was alive and she didn't do that, and I was just like, it felt weird, and I knew something was off. Like we knew she had cancer and stuff, but it was just like, I'm like, man, this. And I remember the last time I talked to her, she had a smile on her face, and the last thing she said was just like, take care of yourself, I love you, yada yada, all that stuff. And then I remember a couple days after, that's when she passed away. And that's what I said. This Our family, we've been through a lot. I never met my grandfathers. Like my grandfathers both died before I was even born, was even a thought of. I believe my grandfather on this side, my uncle was 13 when he passed away. I believe like 13 or 10 or something around that area. So like we weren't even a thought. My mom was only, I think, like 2 or 3 years older than my uncle. So like my mom was probably like 15, 16 ish. So like before we were even a thought, um, like I never got to meet any of my grandfathers. On my dad's side, I haven't either. My grandmother I met on that side, a few times. She ended up passing away actually before the grandmother I lived with. My mom's mom passed away. She passed away like the December before. Um, so like I technically have like no women as far as um older women of the previous generation. All my aunts are passed away. Even my dad's one sister. He said he has some other siblings that from his dad and stuff that he has, but as far as like the ones I knew, like they're all pretty much gone. All the women from the previous generations. Um, so like I was telling my cousin, I was like, man, we just been through a lot as a family. um, yeah, I almost cried in the middle of that. By the way, I'm not a I don't know. Recently, I've been really emotional and stuff, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Um, but and as much as like I said, I want to move and I want to find some steady income and do all that stuff. Um, I will say that I've I have good people around me for the most part. From my family, the little family I have, to my friends who I talk to on a daily, who I ain't got nothing but love for. Um, I'm doing as well as I can be. So that's why like when people ask, Steph, how you doing? How you doing? I'm like, I'm surviving, doing as well as I can. But I feel like we all are. These times have been very, very weird. Um, for everybody, excuse me. For everyone. Like prices going up for everything and all this other social media being crazy. Y'all know how it be. Like, I think it's weird times for everybody. But I feel like if you could just keep the people that are loyal to you, the people that are closest to you, if you could just keep those people close. And that's what I've always been trying to do. Try to remove all like negativity and people who are negative out of my life. And keep the ones that are actually show concern for me and show love for me. I feel like if you could do that, you'll be fine. And that goes for friends and family. If you feel like you need to remove somebody toxic from your life, just do it. Don't wait. Don't if you've given them 100 chances and they just never change, you remove them. You remove them, and that means even if that means your parents or siblings or whatever, your entire family, or a toxic friend. And like if you feel like you just need to remove them from your life, do it. Don't wait. Just do it, please. Uh, yeah. I started rambling, y'all. I started rambling. Sheesh. But yeah, we're gonna end it there. Like I said, I got the Ravens and Lions for tomorrow's games. I'll be back Monday for sure. We'll talk about obviously the NFC and AFC championship games and all that stuff. But yeah, follow me on all the socials. Big Mama Steph on Twitter, Twitch, Instagrammy. You know what I'm saying? Search Big Mama Steph _TikTok. You find your girl. I said Twitter, X technically, whatever. Um, but yeah, I am planning to stream today. I'm planning to play some. I want to play this Power game that's everybody's been playing. I'm trying to get into that. Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Definitely gonna be looking for some more different games on the horizon. Really excited about the second Hellblade that's supposed to be coming out on May 21st. That's something I'm really excited for. But yeah, man, like I said, follow me on the socials and all that stuff. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. I can't believe we're at the end of January, by the way. Like, this is the last weekend of January, which is kind of nuts. I feel like this year is kind of, I don't know. I can say it's going fast, but it feels like slow. Because, like, I feel like my birthday was months ago. Like, it feels like this January's been kind of long. But, yeah, we're at the end of the month pretty much. I think I only have like one episode left in the month, which will be Monday. Um, but yeah, guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful, fantastic weekend. Still raining here in Jersey, but I hope everybody has a great weekend. Love your faces. Stay beautiful. See you in the next one. Remember to drink your water, check on the homie, and remember you're loved. Peace.